What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ask for Candy, where we talk about healing, self-care, love, sex, relationships, and what it takes to be amazing on the daily. Who I am is Candice Harper, lovecoach.com. And my purpose with this podcast is to create healthy romantic relationships all around the world through self-love, soul connections, and sweetness. But before we get to that, we're here with our production partner, Solidity Magazine, and my Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hello, Candy. So good to see you.
It's good to see you as well. You had a good week this week?
Oh, it was fabulous.
We're going to get to talk about it a little bit more. But my Brian is the editor-in-chief of Solidity Magazine, and we are live here every Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern. And you can also watch us at solidity.com on Solidity TV and subscribe to Solidity Magazine on YouTube so that you can be alerted when we go live. And don't forget to also subscribe to our audio broadcast, Ask for Candy, on Anchor, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you normally download podcasts. Also, you can email me at askforcandypodcast@gmail.com to leave comments and ask questions. And as you know, if you've been listening, I will answer those questions in a later broadcast, or maybe whatever you email me might become the topic Actually, tonight's topic is based on an email that I received, which I will be sharing with you as well. But before that, for almost 9 years, I have been a relationship coach and a workshop facilitator. And you can go to mywellbeing.com to work with me one-on-one. If you find that during the course of the podcast, things that I say resonate with you, you can actually work with me on them. And I love doing that. That's one of my favorite things to do. I'm also a professional matchmaker with Luma, a luxury matchmaking service that brings high-end singles together to find their perfect love. And this is just me living into my purpose, the purpose of loving myself unconditionally and inspiring others to do the same. And we use our romantic lives as a portal, an inspiration, a catalyst to our highest possible self. That is what our conversation is about. That is what this podcast is all about. Relationship coaching is my zone of genius. And the best part about it is that week to week, I get to grow and learn as I interact with hundreds of people around the most intimate parts of their lives. I get to take people on their journey from caterpillar to butterfly, unhappy with their love lives, to ecstatic, unhappy with their partners, to happy and satisfied. I get to teach people how to get out of their own way and tap into love as a limitless resource. I do this using tools like EFT, RTT, which is a hypnotherapy, and my own coaching curriculum. Most importantly, of all I get to do is to be part of what supports healthy beginnings and sustainably healthy relationships. I get to be the cause of self-love, soul connections, and sweetness, honey. Brian, tonight's topic, are you ready?
Oh, I am ready.
You retty. That's a
Mm-hmm.
word, retty. Good. Tonight's topic is somewhat of a lady topic, but I feel like there's some man stuff in there too.
All
And you and
right.
I were having a little conversation, kind of touching on how it affects men as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to deep dive into this. Tonight's topic is the bio clock of doom.
Dum dum dum.
So tonight I'm talking about what it means to balance the pressures that we put on ourselves based on science, circumstance, and society, and how to not give into these pressures and keep hope alive, honey. You gotta keep hope alive. I feel like, when it comes to almost anything, when it has societal pressure around it, and even scientific pressure around it. And I'm a lover of science. I'm a believer in science. So I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, science is bunk. I'm not, of that thinking. But I also think that there are possibilities that are scientific, and they have to do with, we've talked about this before, our mindset, right? And the way that we see and think and create in our lives, how that affects physically what we're capable of doing and what we're able to do, right? So what I want to talk about tonight is mainly the pressure of procreating and the pressure of, creating some ideal of what family is that a lot of us have on our shoulders that prevents us from actually being able to create it. And I'm going to talk about my own experience with that. And specifically, I want to talk about this email that I got.
Okay.
Yeah. So I received an email from one of my clients, and I'm going to share it. Those of you who are listening, listen in for where it might resonate with you, because I think a lot of us, this really resonated with me because at this same age, I was feeling very similarly. And I know that a lot of women in particular go through this. I know that men go through their own sort of, societal pressures and things like that. But, listen for where you hear resonation in this, for those of you who are listening at home. So in part of her letter, she says, the thing is, she's a matchmaking client. She reached out to me concerned that she hasn't had a match in a little while. She says, the thing is that my lifelong desire has been to have a family of my own since I lost mine at such a young age. And now that I am turning 40 in a month, and the window of time to get married and have children naturally is getting smaller. Oh, now that I am turning 40 in a month, the window of time to get married and have children naturally is getting smaller. Also, my 6 months package is now at 5 months, and it doesn't look like I will be matched with anyone in November. So then I will be down to 4 months. December seems to be a tricky month to coordinate calendars, so that's another month lost, and then I am left with only 3 months. I feel like this is literally my last chance at finding love, since I have tried everything else. Might adjusting my criteria help with the matchmaking process? Am I the only one who hears a lot in that? Brian, do you hear a lot in that
Yeah, my heart goes out to her.
right?
It really, really does. I think that, um, especially when you as you get older,
Yeah.
um, that the societal things that maybe even your parents kind of taught you about, like what's the right age to where you're supposed to meet this person, and you get married and you have kids, and it's like this, like my wife was talking about, even in Michelle Obama's book Becoming, she
Yeah.
talks about the plan, right? That everything's on a schedule, that by this time I have this, by this
Yeah.
time I have that, and by this time I have kids, and it goes on and on and on, and my heart was just feeling her, because it feels like she's having to let go of the schedule.
Of the plan, right?
Yeah.
And I think I love that you brought up Michelle Obama and Becoming, because I sort of remember that passage where she talks about it, but also talks about how she had to sort of release it going exactly the way that she thought it should go. Like I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly how she put it, but she did talk
Yeah.
about that. And here's the thing, I have a sister who very much a planner and planned it all out and had it go. And I do think that that is possible, especially if you are fitting in with what is traditionally expected, right? You get married at a certain age,
Right.
and you
Right.
have children when it's most biologically viable,
Mm-hmm.
follow all of those rules. And so there's nothing wrong with all of that. Like, a lot of people do that. But I think what happens is, if for whatever reason you don't do that, or you miss a step, or you skip something, a lot of times it's easy to end up in a position where you're under that pressure of, like, but I still got to do all of these things.
Right. Right.
Right. And I think that's what's going on with her right now, because I don't think she's at a place where it's impossible. She's just getting to a place where the pressure to do it, because she's worried about the biological clock, is just intensifying, right?
Right. So
And
there's that physical part, because I think that's the other thing that men need to understand about this. Just like as you guys go through your cycle every month, this is also a part, as women get older, guys, that there's biological things that are happening with women as well, and that you have to understand that part.
yeah.
And it can be overwhelming
Oh,
for women.
absolutely. Like, the hormonal changes that you're going through, along with the pressure to fit into whatever it is you feel like you need to fit into. And not that guys don't go through their own thing as well, but yeah, you're
A little
absolutely right,
bit,
Brian. It can be,
a
and
little
I
bit,
yeah, a little bit, a little
a
bit.
little bit. It ain't the same
Oh, we'll do a whole show about men and their
though.
bio clock as well, right? Whatever their bio clock is about. Like, as long as I haven't pooped in 3 days, so my bio clock is. I feel like, not to minimize the male experience. I don't exclude anybody.
Just different. It's just
It's
different.
just different. It's just different. But yeah, so you felt like I felt like, my heart really went out to her, because that, what I felt, what I feel within her. And she's one of my favorite clients. She's absolutely beautiful. She's very successful. She built a business on her own, and that's what she's been focusing on over the years. And she's someone who earnestly wants to be really proactive about what she wants to create, because that's what we're taught to do, right? We work hard and make
Right.
things
Right.
happen, and that's how you get what you want. And that's exactly how she built her business.
Mm.
Was, coming from nothing and working hard, and built this great business, and now is, of really solid financial means. And now she's like, but I still want to have these other things as well. And so, what it takes to build businesses, and what it takes to achieve certain things, whether it be around your education, things that you can actually set logistics in place, what it takes as a human being in order to get those things done, it's very different than what it takes to create a family, right? It's very different than what it takes to create,
Absolutely. It
right, to
absolutely
create
is.
love in your life. Say that again.
It absolutely is.
Yeah. Yeah. And what it takes to attract and create love in your life as well, right? Like, I feel like it's a completely different mindset. Whereas a lot of people feel like, and I had some period of time in my life where I felt like it was something that I could achieve just like anything else that I achieved, right? That there's a level of accomplishment to it. And, right?
Yeah. Wow.
So I believe that we could have the love and life that we dream of, but we got to be willing to allow it and know that we don't have to work for it. Like, it's not something that you work for. So I, of course, I wrote a list because I always write a list.
I loved your list.
Right? I gotta break it
It
down.
was your list.
What is that song that you were singing? Is that Holiday?
Well, I'm messing it up.
Kisses on my list. That's what you were just
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. I was trying to do a little take on it, but I messed it up. So, my apologies, everyone. I'm usually on point with it, but you know.
So yeah, so what does it look like if we're allowing rather than caving under the pressure of society and science and all the things that are telling us you got to do this thing and you got to get it done, and that there is some way of planning it out. I mean, not that there isn't a way of planning it out, or that is the thing to attach ourselves to, which I actually think that is the thing, especially as we get older, that can cause a lot of stress and anxiety and actually sabotage our possibility for being able to do it. But I wrote a list about some things because I've been through this myself, and the reason that I chose this letter that she wrote me is because it really spoke to my own experience when I was around the same age, and what it did in my life as far as my level of desperation for having somebody in my life and who I was choosing based on that level of desperation, what I was allowing in my life because I wanted to force something to happen and I was attached to making it happen, and I had a story that my timeline was such that if I didn't force it to happen, that it would be the end of the world, that it meant everything, right?
Wow.
That I could tolerate things that I had no business tolerating, to pay the price to have those things, to be able to meet with tradition. Yeah. I mean, you guys who've listened to the show for a while know that I sometimes talk about some of the people that I chose and relationships that I was in that I won't say I had no business being in them, because they were part of what grew and transformed me. In hindsight, I look back, I don't regret it. But at the time, I wasn't in those relationships because I wanted to have a healthy relationship. I was in them because I was trying to make something happen. Like, I was trying to make the traditional dream happen. I was caving under the pressure. I was looking at too much social media. I was, comparing myself to others and thinking that I was supposed to have what someone else next to me was having, or what I perceived them to have, right? So here's my list of things to do or to be, to relieve that pressure so that you can actually make room for what it is that you want in this particular situation. And for anybody out there who is in a space of feeling like they need to have something in their lives, that they're attached to having that thing in their lives, and there's a frustration around not having it, you can use this list and also translate it into whatever it is that you're trying to create. So number one, for this client who wrote me this email and anyone that it resonates with, is to relax about the baby making. And I know that sounds so simplistic, and it also may sound like I'm being callous about it, but take it from someone who waited and then struggled and then didn't have biological children. What would normally be the cautionary tale from someone like myself would be, oh, don't wait, you got to do it, you got to do it. But that's the worst advice that you can get. And I had someone tell me that back when I was like, really wanting to make it happen, really wanting to have a baby, like, go ahead while your eggs are still viable. You have to do it. You have to do it. And they added to that urgency. They added to that pressure.
Right.
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 And so the stress and the worry that I was causing myself, and that pressure was causing me when the clock was ticking, it doesn't help. It doesn't help the body to become a safe ground for giving life. because you know a body that's in a state of stress is in a state of fight or flight, and so you can't even relax enough to be a welcoming host, right? To give life to. It sounds crazy, but it's true. Like the
No,
body,
it's true.
you know, the tensing of the body, the way your body functions, you're constantly in a stress state, that anxiety. I actually had a good friend who did have a baby later in life, and you know, she was so stressed out. First of all, she tried for the longest time, you know, using in vitro fertilization, and it failed, and you know, all kinds of different methods and different things, and she was really trying to force it to happen. And then the moment they let go, relaxed about it, she got pregnant, 47 years old. But then after she had the baby, she was so stressed out about the care of the baby and what she needed to do and making sure she could breastfeed and things like that, that the stress itself caused her milk to dry up and she couldn't feed the baby anymore naturally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So then she had to find alternatives. So we have to be real cognizant of when we desire something, when we want something like having a baby, how the way we attach to it can have our body reacting in a way that makes it impossible, right? When we start putting that pressure on ourselves, not only can it cloud our ability to be healthy, but also to healthfully connect with a potential partner in parenthood, right?
Right.
Because I'm stressed out and I'm trying to make this thing happen. I'm trying to make a relationship happen. I'm trying to make sure that you're the guy or make you the guy who's going to, you know, impregnate me, which is where I was. It's
Right.
like, you're going to be like, oh, you're not going to be, okay, you're going to be that guy. I'm going to make you fit.
Right. Right.
You know, and there's no health in that. And so, you know, it does subsequently affect our ability to be able to procreate and to be able to have it be the experience that it's really meant to be, or that it could possibly be, which is a positive experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, the cautionary tale is not to hurry up and make it happen. You know, from being on the other side of it, the cautionary tale is to just relax and vibe and trust that it will happen.
Right.
That's one thing that I was never able to do. To, you know, to trust that it will happen, or that it's possible, trust that it's something that if it's for me, it's for me. And also these days, we can also freeze eggs and, you know, in vitro, if you have the means, adopt. Here's the thing, if you truly want to be a mother or even a father, your children will find their way through you or to you.
I like that.
Right? If being a parent is something that you truly want on this earth, your children will find their way through you or to you.
You know, Candy, as you were talking about this, especially with people's thinking about procreation,
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I keep thinking about is where did the hurry up come from? Where did the initial socialization that women are supposed to have children when they're young, right? And this has been something that my part of the species has been putting forth on women forever. Where, for instance, going back to the days of colonial America and even before this, but slave owners wanted the women to have more children so they could have more slaves, right? And then work the fields. Later, when even black people had farming and that kind of thing, they needed laborers. So the best way to produce laborers was for the wives to have children. And that's why the age of people getting married and having children was so young. I mean, you're talking 17, 18, and 19 was the norm.
Definitely. Even 14.
Even 14, exactly.
Yeah.
Because you could have, 6, 7-year-old could be out there doing some work.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to bring that part up because I think it kind of helps put things in context, specifically with women that are, you're not on the farm working. You're a lot of women that you're talking about are professional women. They have jobs and careers and that kind of thing. And They do not have to operate off of an archaic, male dominated, and male specific ideology around when a woman's supposed to have children.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, get that part out there too. This just didn't pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah.
That men specifically were the ones who were placing pressure upon women to have children early so there could be enough people in the family to do stuff. And then it later became just a source of pride for men. Oh, you have a big family,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
well, absolutely, that element is there, right? And also, you know, in pre-generational times and what our ancestors had to deal with as far as people of color, there's that whole layer there, like what you were talking about during slavery, of just being bred like animals. But then also there's just you know, pre-generationally, you think before the women's movement, most of what women had to do was to be mothers, right?
Right.
Your main function, yes, because it was a patriarchal society, but also because biologically that's what we were built for. Right? So that
right. You got the tools, right?
you got the tools, so you're going to have to be the one to do it, right? And I think now, you know, what we're dealing with now is, you know, yes, we're in a new time where, you know, obviously, you know, women are much more accomplished than they've ever been before, and the possibilities for how far we can go, you know, continue to expand. And with that said, we also have to be open to how that's going to evolve our fertility, our abilities, and, you know, what makes sense as far as having and raising children. Because a lot of times, and I know for me, I was still stuck in a very traditional, you know, what my father taught us, me and my two sisters, or, you know, grow up and be wives, find someone to marry, have children. And it's a very Christian structure. It's a very, you know, it's Bible based. It's, you know, it's what he knew, you know, that's just what you do. So a lot of my desire, I had to come to terms with the fact that a lot of my desire had more to do with what I thought I was supposed to do that I didn't do. Right? Feeling like, oh, because I spent all that time pursuing my career and being centered around, you know, what I could accomplish, that I missed out on something that I really was supposed to do. And then all of a sudden I got to a certain age where it's like, oh, well, I can't not do that now. It's almost like I had a story in the back of my mind, like I was doing something wrong if I didn't do it. You get what I'm saying? Like I feel like it's become ingrained in us, but yet our society has changed. So obviously we don't have to we're overpopulated. We don't have to breed because, you know, we need people, and very few of us. I mean, there are people out there who live on farms, and it's probably still lucrative to have some kids who work the farms, but, you know, that's not necessarily so much what is in the modern age anymore. But we still have that old thinking of, you know, traditionally what we're supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're saying relax
about it, because, you know, in essence, and this is not to say, you know, the desire to be a mother or wanting to be a mother, that you can just like be like, oh no, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that you got to be willing to think about what story you're telling yourself about why it's important to you. And are you attached to trying to fit into a traditional mold? Or if it's something that you do really want to have happen, are you open to all the possibilities for how it can happen? Or are you attached to it having to happen one way? And if you are, we always got to be willing to ask ourselves, why I had to ask myself, why am I so attached to physically having a child? You know, I did want to have that experience. So I had a few miscarriages based on trying to force that to happen, right? And so what it got me clear on, first of all, I'm naturally a mother. So I have people that they need mothering. I'm there to mother them. I love to take care of people, cook for people, mentor them, teach them, inspire them. You know, whatever I can do to help people grow and learn, that's what I like to do. And that's who I am. I get to do it every day, all the time. And I didn't necessarily have to sacrifice the physical part of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I had to, here's the thing. There are a lot of women out there that snap back after they have babies and things like that. But, I look back and I'm okay with the fact that it didn't have to be a biological thing. I'm okay with that because the outcome that I really wanted was to be able to say that I'm a caretaker. That's why I have a dog. I'm a caretaker to someone at all times. At all times, I'm in some level of mode of overflowing onto someone in that way. And that's what was important to me about being a mother. And that's what I had to get clear about so that I could relax about the rest of it. So that I could relax about, fitting into tradition and things like that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. All right, number 2. We're only on number 1, Brian. Number 2 thing is to throw out your calendar. So if you guys notice in the letter that I was reading, she talked a lot about her timeline, the timeline for her matchmaking package, because she wants to, fill that up so that she can make sure that she meets this husband, to make sure that she gets pregnant in time. And, she's turning 40 soon. And so that's another thing that I did to myself, another thing that we do to ourselves. We have this timeline, this calendar. And the thing about it is that we don't get to determine when we are ready for the person who is for our highest good. We don't get to determine that. But what is within our power is to be the person that is for our highest good. Right? So that's what alone time is about. So whether it's that you're waiting in between dates, or you haven't dated for a while, or you just ended a relationship, and you're getting to an age where you're feeling like, but I'm supposed to be in this, committed relationship and I'm not, and you're beating yourself up. This is your time to be within your power and be the person that is for your highest good, to be in relationship with yourself. And so if you're not taking that time, valuing that time, relishing that time, because you're focused on trying to meet points in a calendar, you kind of steal that time away from yourself. Right? It's the value, we need to value the time that we have to be alone and reflect and be in relationship with self, and release the disempowering belief that we can force our person to happen. We can manipulate people into our lives, absolutely, because that's exactly what I did. We can force people into our lives, definitely. But we got to release the idea that we can force that person who is for our highest good. Because when we're forcing people into our lives, we're coming from the limits of what we know, right? And the price is much higher than the reward. Because once you start to learn that person and realize that it is someone that you controlled into your situation based on being attached to making something happen, and then start having the consequences of that. I hear somebody talking in the background, Brian. I don't know, is that Sasha talking? I can hear her in the background. I don't know. But what was I saying? So yeah, like the forcing of people in our lives, that's how we end up in one bad relationship after another, because we're not allowing ourselves to attract from being our own highest possible self, being our own best partner. What we're doing is we're looking for somebody else to come in and fill us up and to give us those things that we've decided that we want, whether it be a baby, a family, whatever. We really got to be in a space of being willing to fill ourselves up. And when we develop a healthy relationship with ourselves, we vibe like we have a healthy relationship with ourselves. And that's when we get to attract similarly. And you don't want to be creating a parent partnership with someone who is not vibing high, who is expecting parenting to be something that gives to them rather than something that they're giving, right? I always talk about filling ourselves up to overflow. You got to fill yourself up to overflow in order to attract someone who knows how to fill themselves up to overflow, rather than trying to force somebody into your life to fill a hole that they can never fill. And then you then have a baby and have the expectation on the baby that the baby fill the holes that neither one of you were able to fill. And people do it all the time. I'm not saying it's not possible, but when we have the valuable time, it's an opportunity to have it be a much better experience, or a much different experience, if we allow it. Right? And we get to spend alone time being who we want to be with. Like if I know I want an experience in my life as far as relationship and things like that, when I'm not worried about what's on the calendar or how fast it happens or when it's got to happen by, I get to spend time alone being who it is that I want to be with and learning, who I need to be, what I need to be in a relationship, in order to experience all of those things for that kind of attraction. So throw out the calendar. You don't need the calendar. You don't, it's divine right timing, whatever you believe in, whether you believe in God, the universe, or, just humanity, there is a timing to everything. And without our ability to allow for the timing, we are limited to what it is we can control, which is not very much, right? Number three, and then we can take a little bit of a break, Brian, because I don't want to fire hose the people. Number three, after number three, we'll do a little commercial.
Okay.
So number three, give yourself some clarity. And it's like what I was talking about earlier. Do you really want what you say you want? So I don't know if you heard in the letter that my beautiful client wrote, she mentioned losing her family at a young age and therefore wanting a family of her own. So she lost her family at a young age. And, just from knowing her, I know that she's done some work around that. And by work, I mean healing and therapy and things like that. But a lot of times when we feel like we didn't have something, or we have a story that whatever we had wasn't good enough, we make up in our mind that whatever we create will be the thing that will fix it, or that it'll be so amazing that it won't matter that we didn't have this other thing. Or, if our family was dysfunctional, if I go and create my own family, there won't be any dysfunction in that family. So then I can heal it that way. But, we kind of fool ourselves with that because it's not really true. There's a saying that they say in AA, wherever you go, there you are. And what that means is, if wherever you're at is not workable, or whatever you have is not workable, trying to go off and this is in the realm of relationships, trying to go off and have it someplace else without fixing, healing, or focusing on where you originated from, you're not going to be able to find it, because it's really about self-fulfillment and self-healing and healing it for yourself first, right? To be able to attract something different, you're going to keep attracting the same kinds of things. So you can come from a dysfunctional family and then give birth to a dysfunctional family, which is what people often do, right? But if you give yourself the gift of clarity of, why do I feel like I want this thing? Am I just trying to fit in with tradition? Is it because I feel like other people, whether it be my own children or a partner, is going to provide a source for happiness, validation, achievement, or belonging? Sometimes we make up what a family is supposed to be, or what it's supposed to look like, and imagine that it's what we should have. Like we have this idea of what it means to have a family, and that's what we should have. But if we're not already giving ourselves those things, if we're not already giving ourselves happiness, validation, acknowledging our own achievement and our own sense of belonging, if we don't have those things, a family won't be able to give us those things. If we can't generate those things, within whatever family structure that we have or don't have, or have created, let's say with friends or whatever, we're not going to be able to give birth to a family that has those things. So, you want to be really clear about, why do I say that I want to have this family when most of my adult life has not aligned with having a family? Because clearly, I know for me, there was at least a good solid couple of decades where I was avoiding that sort of thing, and, spoke very often about my lack of interest in having a family. And what I had to do once it clicked over and I started to feel like, oh, well, wait, maybe something's wrong if I don't have a family. Maybe this is what I should be doing. This would be the right thing to do. I had to ask myself, well, why am I saying those things? And until I was able to ask myself, I wasn't able to recognize that I'm only saying it because I think I'm supposed to. I think that's what I'm supposed to have. I'm making myself wrong for not having it. If I believe that I need something because something in my life is lacking, I'm not providing myself the love and acceptance that I have decided I so desperately need from others. And if I'm not providing it for myself, I'm definitely not going to be able to provide it in a family. to make a family or for a family, right? So yeah, give yourself some clarity. So what do we have so far? So far, we're relaxing about the baby making, we're throwing out the calendar, and we're allowing ourselves to have some clarity around what it is that we really want. And we're going to come back and do the other two on the list. What do you think about that, Brian?
Welcome to your new you with Aspire by Solivity. Virtual inspiration for your mind, body, and soul. With the help of at-home experts and celebrity guests, Aspire by Solivity provides tools to tap into the passion and purpose that lives within you. Find classes to educate and motivate you, from nutrition to your body and a whole lot more. So, take the leap. Start your new journey with Aspire by Solivity today. Sign up now. Welcome to your new...
Uh-oh, I don't know what happened.
That was on me, everybody.
Blame Brian.
This is a live broadcast, so,
Right?
things happen.
Things happen. Okay, people know. But honey, we're in a pandemic. Ain't nobody judging. They better not be out there judging. This is all about the love. So we're back and we're talking about some of the things to do to relieve the pressure of the bio clock of doom. Some of the things to consider just to, free our minds, free ourselves to be able to actually create the things that we want without having to compromise and force and be in a state of worry and all of that stuff. So number 4, so far, well, let's just recap real quick. Number 1 was relax about the baby making, throw out your calendar, give yourself some clarity. And then number 4 is to watch your thoughts. It's very, very important. I talk about this all the time. Our thoughts and our words, as a product of our beliefs, are what dictate our actions and our ways of being. It's what, what our body reacts to. It's what our experience will be. So in my client's letter, the letter that I read earlier, she's forecasting a very bleak future. She's already decided there's not going to be dates in November. It's not going to have dates in December because of the holidays. And, then she's not going to have but 3 months to find this man of her dreams in order to make sure that she gets pregnant on the timeline that she chooses, and that this is her last resort. So all of that language cuts off any other possibility. And wow. I always tell all my matchmaking clients that, one thing about when we work together is that I am not attached to you finding your soulmate through me. What I do is I provide people for you to not only be practicing your dating and learning people and intimacy, and the hope is that you do find somebody that you end up wanting to stay with and be with. But you're in a holistic practice in your life, whether you're working with a matchmaker or not, when you want to have a relationship and you want to start something. So if your thinking is very limiting and you have all these bleak premonitions about how it's going to go, that's exactly what you're going to create. for your experience. So between her premonitions and her timeline for how things have to go, it's like she's stirring up this stress elixir that's just going to sabotage her whole game, her whole experience, her whole situation. And what happens is the stress and the pressure, it starts to play with our logic about things, and we start to worry and get anxious, and that worry and that anxiety starts to reek of desperation. And you know how when you've met someone who wants something from you and you know it, and we can smell desperation on each other. Don't you think so, Brian? Don't you feel like
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that, the whole, um, that desperateness. Oh, I gotta have this, and
I
then
have it?
you start projecting onto situations that may not be healthy for you, making yourself think, oh well, that's the one. That's the person I need to be with to make all this happen.
Mhm.
It's just, it's a tragedy waiting to happen.
It's a tragedy, or it's when we get obsessive, when we
Oh
get
yeah.
people, right? We let people, treat us badly because we're willing to compromise. It's just, we're in just a state of like, it's that desperation state because I'm telling myself that I have to make it happen by this certain time. These particular things aren't in order, and so I gotta make up for it. I'm seeing a very bleak future of non-possibility, so I've got to take control of it. It's a very destructive state as far as what's possible in our relationships. And so, it's like for example, she's like, if I'm turning 40 in a month and I want to have a husband and kids in 2 years and I don't have a date lined up right now, everything is going to go south and I'm going to end up dying alone. Like that's kind of how it plays out, right?
Yeah, that convincing yourself that, oh, I, I don't have the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
It's a bit, yeah.
I was there. I mean, have you ever, like, Brian, I know it may not be around like having kids and stuff like that, but do you ever remember a time in your life where you decided you needed to have something or do something so badly that you started to feel like desperate thoughts and then had desperate behavior behind it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
you compromise everything, your
Yeah.
morals, your values, everything, to try
Totally.
to make that thing happen that you think is going to be the end all and solve everything.
Yeah. And then if you don't compromise, then you go into like some sort of depression as if,
Right, right.
because it's not going to happen, that, it's the end of the world, right? It's like a
And you
self,
have to move through that.
yeah. I mean, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Desperate thoughts, desperate behavior, and whatever comes out of desperate behavior is what we end up getting. That's what we end up experiencing. And whatever we believe is exactly what we create. If you believe that it's going to happen, it's going to happen. If you don't believe it's going to happen, it's not going to happen.
Right, exactly.
Right? Or if it does happen, you'll never recognize it because you'll be so busy being in your limiting belief. And our words and actions are products of our belief. So if I convince myself that I'm racing against a clock to manage things that are largely out of my control, I'm setting myself up for disastrous letdowns. And so, rather than um, you know, letting those beliefs creep in and take over and be in charge, the invitation is to consider how much patience and faith I am offering to a situation that if I were to create it would require even more patience and faith.
Mm.
Anybody who's ever been in a family knows that patience and faith are your two best friends.
Oh yes. Ah, hallelujah.
Right? And I may not biologically be a mother, but I know that patience and faith are enormously important when it comes to surviving the demands of motherhood or growing a family or building a family or being in a family. And if you won't even allow patience and faith in your beginning steps in the creation of it, then how are you going to be able to offer it to an entire family?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
right. So yeah, that's number 4. Watch your thoughts, people.
Better
Watch
watch them thoughts.
watch them thoughts. Love those thoughts. Just, when they come up, when they creep up, all those fears and anxieties, say, thank you very much. I am taking over. I will now be at the head of the table, and I have chosen to believe that it is possible. Right? I am enough in red lipstick on your mirror, and keep it moving, because it is a product of, all of it is a product of your belief. And then number five. Number five is to enjoy the journey. So this goes back to, what I was talking about before about, once you start from the beginning, and why I was talking about patience and faith from the beginning, it's that, this all of it is a journey, right? So for some people it's short, and for some people it's long, but as soon as whatever it is that we're looking to create comes to fruition, then, there's the next steps to take, because you don't ever get it done. I mean, once we stop desiring the next step, then that means life is over. So rather than be so attached to what the outcome is going to be, and actually sabotaging our experience of getting there, the idea is to be where you are and enjoy it, so that you can attract the next thing and continue to be where you are and enjoy it. So this one encompasses all of what I said previously, but also we want to keep in mind how difficult life can be when we're worried about forcing an outcome. Life is so much more difficult when we worry about an outcome.
Mm, mm,
Right?
mm.
when we labor and ruminate over things that haven't happened, based on things that no longer exist anymore, it's like, it's a very difficult experience. And
Oof.
so, right? If you've ever watched kids, like when they play on the playground, and how no one gets hurt or angry until something doesn't go their way. Right?
Right?
No
That's
one
true.
cries, no one's feelings are hurt, no one's mad until something doesn't go their way. Up until that moment, they're having an amazing time.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Right? And if they all came to the playground assuming that they're going to fall off the swings and it's going to hurt, worried that at some point they're going to have to stop playing, or if they came to the playground avoiding interaction with each other, like, or with other kids, because they don't look or act like someone they'd want to play with tomorrow, they would have a pretty shitty time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. They'd come looking like football players to the playground every single day.
Right? But a losing team.
Yeah.
And be like a bunch of small sad sack adults. But that is what we do, especially in the dating realm. When we want to have families, we want to have these relationships, we want to create families, is that we avoid interacting with certain people because they don't look or act like that person, whatever we're imagining. We're worried about, running out of time. We're worried about our biological clock. We're worried about, making it happen. And we're assuming that things are going to fail, or that I'm going to get hurt, or that it's going to go badly. That's exactly how we approach dating and mating and loving each other. And then we wonder why we have the experiences that we have. Right?
It's funny that we all do that,
Yeah,
right? Well, I
totally.
don't know why this keeps happening to me.
Yeah, but we do it not only, with our dating life, and granted, we're adults, so we've experienced some things, and so we've let the past sort of build up and inform how we view things in
Right.
life. Right?
Right.
So of course that is the difference between adults and kids. But the idea here is to be allowing yourself to revert back to a time when you knew how to go, excuse me, from a clean slate,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where you
Mm-hmm.
do what kids do.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah. I
You
mean, they're
know,
geniuses at it.
yeah,
I
there are things that we need to do that we can learn from the child inside of us.
Yeah.
That it's not all just reactive. There are some things, living life from a place of awe and wonder.
Awe and wonder, and in the moment, and open to whatever is possible, and not reacting to things that haven't happened
Yeah,
yet.
exactly. Exactly. Because adults, we be okay, this may happen 6 days, 5 hours, and 23 seconds from now. So I'm going to protect myself from that moment that may never come in the
Yeah.
future state because it will really hurt me bad.
Right. No, it's true. It's
I mean,
true.
we've all done it. I've done it. I know you've
Oh,
done it too. You
yeah.
know, really
It's
good stuff,
mm,
Candy. Yeah,
I'm glad.
yeah, this is really good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what it all comes down to is just our own willingness to um, just have a lot of faith in knowing that the desires that we have, those desires, they do exist for a reason, absolutely. And when we're willing to make peace with them and just be an allowance for how we can be inspired to take action, or be an allowance for how things that we want to create might not look exactly how we've envisioned them. Just be open to how the reason we desire things is because we want to experience certain things. When we want something, it's usually because we feel like life is going to be better because of the having of them. When we desire things, it's because we're telling ourselves something about that this thing is going to either make me happy or make me accomplished, or like I was saying earlier, make me feel like I belong, make me feel like I've achieved. And so the offering here is that all of happiness, fulfillment, achievement, belonging, you already have all of it. You already have all of it. And you can want to have a family. You can want to give birth to biological children. You can want all of those things. But the invitation is that in the wanting of them, understand that um, you're a vessel for your desire, and that you don't necessarily have control over how those things will come to fruition for your highest good. Right? You might have control over how you can make some of those things happen, sometimes, but it's not guaranteed. And so the invitation is to just take inspired action, do what you know to do, and be in a space of allowance and patience and faith, and continually reminding yourself that it's not, you're not in control of certain things, and that's okay.
Enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the journey.
Mm,
Enjoy.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
We forget to do that so much.
We forget to do that all the time because that's what all of this is about. And don't get me started on my whole thing about that we're these souls running around in these human suits, and it's really just about experiencing everything. And
That's
this is
another show.
that's another show. This is our big playground, right? This is our big play. I mean,
Well,
even we
it's
get so
true.
serious
I
about
agree.
like politics and even this pandemic and all of that stuff, and death. Not that death is not serious, it doesn't impact people and things like that, but we get so caught up in our human experience as a zero-sum game, rather than this is what I'm here for. I'm here for the pain, I'm here for the pleasure, I'm here to experience all of it. It's part of being human. And then we try to control it, and then we try to manage it and make sure that it goes a certain way, and that's when we get into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We try
Mm-hmm.
to manipulate it. But yeah, like I said, happiness and fulfillment is yours right now. If you won't let yourself experience them now, there's nothing that you can create or achieve that will help you experience them later. It's experiencing them in right now. My dog's experiencing his own happiness.
Exactly. Right, Tucker. That's right, Tucker.
Right? That was his
That
little
was him. That was a dog's way of saying hallelujah.
hallelujah. Right? We want to get ourselves out of that idea that there's something external of us, whether it be family, having a biological baby, meeting the love of our life, having the dream house, buying it, that it is going to be the thing that's going to bring us the happiness and fulfillment. It's the happiness and fulfillment that we can generate right now that's going to attract those things in a way that's healthful and for our highest good. And that's the whole message. That's the whole massage.
Wow.
The evening. Yeah.
I like it.
Oh, good. I'm glad,
I
Brian.
like it. I mean,
Again.
these are, I love the fact that all of these, for me, all came back to who do you want to be?
Yeah.
You get to decide that.
Absolutely.
Who do you want to be, and what does that beingness represent? And from all this wonderful list you gave, starting with just relax. Wait a minute, relax the baby making thoughts. Just relax,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Just relax about
Throw
all
out
of
the calendar.
it.
Give yourself some clarity.
Yeah.
Watch your thoughts and enjoy the journey. I mean, yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. And all of it comes down to, what is it that I'm always teaching, Brian? What do I always say that the ultimate message is?
Love.
Love yourself, right?
Yep.
Like, this is, especially when you're in a space of anxiety, and this is not just around needing to have a baby, whatever it is that you're trying to create or that you want to, love yourself through it.
Mm-hmm.
Relax. All that stuff, that list that I made, those are all the ways that you love yourself. You fill yourself up so that you can overflow onto others. Because
And I'm listening. I'm listening, Candy.
Oh, good.
I mean, I am. Look, the beauty of, again, enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
We can always perfect ourselves. We can always improve, because I believe that we're spiritual beings living a human existence, right? And that in the human part of us, like you just said, this is a playground. And so as human beings, we get to do do-overs. We get to create new normals. We get to do all that. And, I enjoy these shows with you so much because you remind me of all those things that I need to do on an ongoing basis, even though some of the topics, like this is more, the clock and the bio clock, these are still things that can be applied to other things that we have attachments to.
Yeah, totally.
So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. 100%. I mean, it's came through me, and not just to me, but through me, and through my own experiences.
Like collard greens.
Like collard greens, honey. It came on through me. But that's why I had the experiences I had, so that I could be able to be a vessel for the message about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's it as far as that. I want everybody out there to know about the Epic Circle, an online healing circle for women everywhere. Every Monday night, we come together as a community, and we'll be causing personal transformation when it comes to communication, forgiveness, self-love, mother-daughter relationships, purpose, friendships, just all the tools we need to be as big as we were meant to be. And I talk about a lot of the stuff that I talked about tonight, because sometimes that biological clock conversation comes up as well, and the desires of our heart and all of that stuff. And so we're well into collective number 2, but anyone is welcome to begin at any time, because we cycle the curriculum around over and over again. And the first session is free. So if you want to come out and find out, become a member, join us on Meetup. It's called the Epic Circle. Thank you so much, Solivity Magazine, my Brian.
Oh, you know how we do.
I appreciate you. I want you to follow us on Instagram at Solivity Magazine, at Ask for Candy Podcast, and at Candy Love Coach. And that is it, my people. Thank you for listening, everybody who joined us on the Facebook and everyone who joins us later on. Until next time, never forget that you are a love machine. If you ever start to feel like you aren't getting the love you need, just make more and ask for candy. I love ya. Bye now.
Watch Ask for Candy with Candice Harper every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Solivity Magazine brings you the best in inspiration on Solivity TV. Check out our new shows. Mark your calendars for Solivity Magazine shows by going to solivity.com now.